All right, welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works. You send us something that's got you thinking, and we unpack it together, pull out the good stuff. And today we're taking a closer look at Mythia, a handbook of Hindu mythology by Devdutt Pattanaik. Someone sent this one in, and well, it looks like a fascinating read.
Oh, it is, definitely. And what they're hoping for, I think, is to get a good handle on, Patanaik's core arguments, the big ideas he's presenting about Hindu mythology.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're interested in those kind of deeper insights, like why do these ancient stories still hold so much power and relevance for us today? What kind of wisdom do they offer? That kind of thing.
Right, right. And Patanaik, I think, he frames this really well right from the start. He poses this central question, which is, are Hindu myths simply fiction mythia, or do they point to a deeper truth?
The Satya. Yeah.
Exactly, Satya. And his whole argument, which he kind of lays out, pretty early on, is that they're this incredible blend of both. That's what makes them so
The
compelling.
tension between the two, right?
Absolutely. And the way he structures the book is really interesting too. He kind of uses the principal figures of the Hindu pantheon, so Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, as this framework. They represent creation, sustenance, and destruction.
Okay, perfect. Let's use that as our roadmap then. So starting with Brahma, the mythology of creation. I mean, Brahma, he's the big guy, the ultimate creator, right? He's all about knowledge, about the very concept of the universe coming into being.
He is. But here's where it gets interesting right from the get-go. Patanik points out that Brahma, despite being the one who kicks off the whole creation thing, isn't worshipped as widely as Vishnu or Shiva.
Yeah, that's always kind of struck me as odd. I mean, why is that? If he's so central to everything, why isn't there like more emphasis on him?
Well, Patnaik digs into this. He explains that in the kind of broader Hindu worldview, the act of creation itself is seen as just one stage in a much, much larger cosmic dance. It's like a cycle. Maintaining that creation and then transforming it, these are seen as equally, if not more, vital aspects of the whole divine play.
So Brahma starts things off, sure, but it's Vishnu and Shiva who are kind of keeping the show running, so to speak.
Exactly. You need all three. So the big takeaway here, I think, is that initiation is important, but it's the ongoing effort, the adaptation that really keeps things moving.
That's a cool way to think about it. It's like, yeah, the initial spark is key, but what you do with it afterward is just as important.
Totally. And then Patanaik delves into some of the symbolism associated with Brahma, like the foreheads.
Oh, yeah, the foreheads.
Yeah, traditionally they represent his constant pursuit of knowledge, but then there's this whole story of Shadarupa.
Shadarupa, yeah, the first woman.
Right. And Brahma, he becomes completely captivated by her. He even sprouts those extra heads just so he can keep her in his sight all the time.
Yeah, he's totally smitten.
He is. And Patenik argues that this is where things get really interesting. This intense attachment to Shadarupa, to his own creation, it becomes an obstacle for Brahma. It prevents him from going beyond that initial act of creation and reaching a higher level of understanding.
And so this is where Shiva steps in, right? The god of detachment. I mean, he's kind of the opposite of clinging.
Yeah, you got it. Shiva famously cuts off Brahma's fifth head. And this act, symbolically, it represents the absolute necessity of detachment. You have to let go to transcend, to actually evolve beyond that initial act. So creation that's driven by ego, by this kind of clinging, it ultimately leads to stagnation.
It's like you're stuck in that first phase.
Exactly.
So the takeaway here is that just bringing something into existence, that's not the end goal.
Nope. And this is where Patanik brings in Shakti, the goddess. He talks about her as the essential energy, the dynamism behind all of Brahma's ideas.
Okay, so Brahma has the concept, but it's Shakti who makes it a reality.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. He also talks about the duality of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is that kind of passive, unchanging soul, while Prakriti is this active, ever-changing force of nature.
Like yin and yang, almost.
Exactly. And Brahma aligns more with that Purusha, that initial concept, while Shakti embodies Prakriti, the one that makes things happen.
And then you have goddesses like Saraswati and Lakshmi who are linked to Brahma.
Right.
Yeah.
He delves into that too. Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and learning, she makes sure that the knowledge Brahma represents is used wisely, that it doesn't become harmful.
So it's not just knowledge for knowledge's sake, but it needs to be guided by something.
Right. Right. And Lakshmi, she's the goddess of prosperity and wealth, and she brings in another dimension, this idea that material well-being, it needs to be tempered with wisdom and responsibility.
So it's not just about creating, but about creating with the right intention, with the right balance, and being able to step back when needed.
Exactly. You've got it. So the key takeaway from Brahma's mythology is that knowledge and creation are fundamental, sure, but they need to be balanced with action, with wisdom, and with that capacity for detachment. Only then do they really have true meaning.
Okay, wow. Brahma's a lot more complex than I initially thought.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Vishnu then, the sustainer, right? The one who keeps the whole thing going.
Yeah.
This is where we get a lot more uh, engagement with the world, I think.
You do, absolutely. If Brahma conceives of the cosmos, Vishnu is the one who ensures its survival, its well-being. He nurtures it. And that's why he's so widely revered, because he keeps things going. And a huge part of Vishnu's mythology, of course, is the 10 avatars, the Dashavatara.
The famous incarnations. It's like when the cosmic order, the Dharma, is threatened, Vishnu steps in, takes on a new form, and sets things right again.
Right. And think of Dharma as not just duty, but the inherent nature of things and the actions that are in alignment with that nature.
Yeah.
So Patanik, he has a really interesting take on these 10 avatars. He presents them as this metaphor for the evolution of human consciousness itself.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Can you walk us through that a bit?
Sure. So he starts with Matsya, the fish, primal life in the water. Then you have Kurma, the turtle, representing this movement from water to land adaptation.
Okay, so the earliest stages of life. Yeah.
Exactly. Then you have Varaha, the boar, this emergence of basic physical instincts.
Survival stuff.
Yeah. And then Narasimha comes in, the half man, half lion. This signifies the emergence of stronger emotions, raw power. Then you have Vamana, the dwarf, who represents intelligence, humility, strategic thinking.
Okay, so things are getting a little more complex.
They are. Then you've got Parashurama, warrior with an axe, aggression, territorial dominance. And then we come to Rama, the ideal man, societal structure, justice, morality. After that, Krishna.
Krishna. I love the Krishna stories.
Yeah, he's a fascinating one, the divine, playful one. Love, diplomacy, pursuing joy. Then you have Buddha, enlightenment, spiritual awakening. And finally, Kalki, the future warrior. He's the one who will destroy ignorance and usher in a new cycle. So it's this whole arc of evolution that Patanak is mapping out.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like a journey through different stages of development.
Yeah, and he spends quite a bit of time on Krishna. He's a very captivating figure.
He is. He's always felt like one of the most human of the gods, despite his divinity.
And that's part of his appeal. And Patanak emphasizes this concept of Leela, the divine play, in Krishna's life.
Leela.
Yeah, it's this idea that the universe itself can be seen as this kind of cosmic game, and that clinging too tightly to rigid moral rules, it can actually create suffering.
So it's about being more flexible, about understanding the nuances of each situation.
Right, exactly. And of course, we can't talk about Krishna without talking about the Bhagavad Gita, his teachings to Arjuna on the battlefield, right? He talks about the temporary nature of life, the importance of fulfilling our duties, and he really emphasizes the path to liberation through detachment.
That idea of non-attachment keeps coming up.
It does, yeah. It's a central theme. So the big insight from Vishnu's mythology, according to Patanak, is that maintaining order in the cosmos and in our own lives, it requires adaptability, wisdom, and a really nuanced understanding of Dharma, which isn't always just black and white.
Okay, so we've covered creation with Brahma, sustenance with Vishnu. Now we come to Shiva, destruction and transformation. This isn't destruction in a purely negative sense, right?
No, not at all. Patanak makes it clear that Shiva is the destroyer as a necessary force for renewal. He's not malicious. It's about clearing away what's no longer serving its purpose, making way for something new. He's the ascetic, the one who stands apart, but he's also the master of both creation and destruction.
Yeah, and he's often depicted in these kind of stark settings, cremation grounds, ashes smeared on his body.
Exactly. It's all about reminding us of the impermanence of life, letting go of those attachments to the material world. But then Shiva also has this whole other side, the family man. He's the devoted husband of Parvati, loving father of Ganesha and Kartikeya. It's such a contrast.
Yeah, the detached yogi and the loving husband and father. It's pretty amazing.
And Patanak goes into this too. He says Shiva, in his stillness and detachment, represents a kind of fundamental awareness. While Parvati, she embodies energy, life, the dynamic forces of nature. So their union, it symbolizes a balance, this stillness and dynamism working together.
Okay, I like that. So it's like potential and actualization existing in harmony.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the cosmic dance, the Tandava.
Oh yeah, the dance of destruction.
Well, it's more than just destruction. It's this whole rhythm of creation and destruction, the constant cycle of birth, growth, decay, rebirth. Every movement signifies this eternal flow.
So destruction isn't the opposite of creation. It's just part of the same ongoing process.
Precisely. And Patanak talks about this story, Triparantaka, where Shiva destroys the 3 cities of the Asuras with a single arrow.
The Asuras, those are the demons, right?
Yeah, and he interprets these cities as symbols of human arrogance, our attachment to wealth, power, pleasure, all these things that create illusions. And Shiva's act, it's this breaking down of those false constructs to reveal a deeper truth.
Okay, so Shiva destroys to reveal what's real, to clear the past for something new.
Exactly. And the key insight here with Shiva is that true wisdom involves accepting change, letting go of what we're clinging to, and really recognizing that nothing in this existence is truly permanent.
Wow, okay. So we've explored creation, sustenance, and destruction. Now, stepping back, what are the big overarching takeaways from Mithya-Vav? What's Patnaik really trying to tell us?
Well, I think his main point is that Hindu mythology isn't about taking these stories literally. They're not historical accounts. It's about the symbolic wisdom they contain, the guidance they offer for navigating life and understanding ourselves.
So it's about looking beyond the surface, finding the deeper meanings.
Exactly. And the roles of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, together they illustrate this beautiful cyclical nature of existence, right? Creation leads to sustenance, which leads to destruction, which leads to renewal. It's this constant flow, and it reminds us that nothing in the material world is truly permanent.
And he also talks about Dharma, right? That it's not just this fixed set of rules.
Yeah, he draws on Krishna's teachings here. Dharma is fluid, it's context dependent. It relies on understanding the specific situation, the intention, and using wisdom to determine the right course of action.
So it's not always easy to figure out what's right in one situation might be wrong in another.
Exactly. It requires us to really think critically about each situation and what it calls for.
And Shiva reminds us that transformation is essential, right? This destruction isn't an ending. It's a step towards rebirth, a new beginning. We have to let go of what's no longer serving us to make space for that.
Right. And then there's Leela, the divine play that Krishna embodies.
Oh, yeah, that was a really interesting concept.
It is. Patanaik suggests that maybe a fundamental truth is recognizing the world as this kind of divine play, and that all our efforts to control everything, our attachments to specific outcomes, they often lead to more suffering.
So maybe it's about embracing the unpredictability of life.
Yeah, and approaching it with a sense of detachment.
Okay, so Mithya. It's not saying the myths are untrue. It's saying their power lies in their symbolic nature, their ability to communicate these deep truths about ourselves and the world.
That's it, yeah. Patanaik is kind of unlocking those hidden meanings, making these ancient stories so relevant to modern life.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. It's given me a whole new way of looking at these stories.
Me too. And I hope it encourages everyone to look beyond the surface of these myths and really engage with the wisdom they offer.
So as you keep thinking about Patnaik's Miss Mithyanavia, consider this. How does this interplay of creation, sustenance, and destruction show up in your own life, in the world around you? Which aspects maybe need a little more attention? Which ones need to be let go of? Food for thought, right? Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.